Okay, folks, we're live, and I want to welcome everyone to the Boston Public Schools Digital Learning Channel. We're here at the Bowling Building in Dudley Square, Roxbury, School Department headquarters, and we have some teacher panelists today. I'll introduce them in a second, but we're talking about managing and using Chromebooks in the classroom and Google Apps for Education to further student literacies. So I'm Edward Considine from the Digital Learning team at OIIT. And I would want to welcome my guests here, Paula Pickett, Ingrid Roach, and Aaron Knowles. Hi, everybody. Please say hi. Paula, why don't we start with you? Why don't you say hi to the audience?
Hi, I'm Paula Pickett from the Olive Wendell Holmes Elementary School.
Welcome, Paula. Thank you. Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, I'm Ingrid Roach. I teach at Boston Latin Academy.
Okay, thank you, Ingrid. Good to see you today. And hi, Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron Knoll. I'm the school librarian at the Winship School in Brighton.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us, and it's really great that teachers are taking time out of their day to share with other Boston Public Schools teachers what they're doing in the classroom, sort of what they find successes, what the challenges are about using technology. The digital learning team has been doing these broadcasts for a couple of months now. We have a nice library of videos on our digital learning channel, our YouTube channel. This is being broadcast live on YouTube, so please, folks, refer this to your friends. These are recorded so you can have your colleagues and friends share them afterwards, after the broadcast. So I'm going to share my screen a little bit and talk about Chromebooks before we start asking some questions to our panelists. And so as I start to share my screen, we've had Chromebooks in the district for several years now, and Chromebooks are really a new phenomenon in public schools. And in my research as a digital learning specialist, I find that we have the opportunity with Chromebooks to put devices in the hands of students that we haven't had before. Chromebooks are relatively inexpensive. If they do go wrong, they're easy to replace. They're especially useful with Google Apps for Education. And so we have the great merging of technology devices in the hands of students and a really robust learning system in Google Apps for Education. So I'm just going to scroll through a slide here or so and talk about some things that are going on in Boston Public Schools with our digital learning team and Chromebooks. So we have lots of resources, as I said. Liz Holman and I have been doing these. She's going to be monitoring questions on Twitter if you want to engage on the Twitter hashtag bpspln. And these slides and a form for your feedback is available also after this. So in the last few years, just Chromebooks by the numbers, Boston Public Schools has purchased over 10,000 Chromebooks. We have almost Chromebooks at every school in BPS. OIIT, with online testing happening as PARC, as the schools know right now, PARC assessments online are a thing, a current trend in education. So testing online is happening, and Chromebooks are a great tool for putting many students online and having that robust system of testing be easy to manage. So for the first time, we have devices available to all students. And so what's the big deal about Chromebooks? One thing that we've learned about Chromebooks are just several things. They're virus protection. It's easy. Security is good. It has built-in virus protection. With Google Drive and things stored in the clouds, we have files and media and all kinds of media backed up automatically. As you know, if you work in Google Docs, things are backed up right away. So everything using Google Drive is kept safe. Chromebook updates all by itself, and this is a great plus over some of other devices in schools where we have to run updates and download software to keep the software current. It's easy to share a Chromebook, and I want to hear our panelists talk about this as well. Many schools have carts in their buildings, and they're mobile carts. They can move room to room, and you can have multiple users using the same Chromebook on a daily basis. They are not just for testing, not just for going into PARC mode. They can be used every day, and the battery life alone is a great asset to them. Over 8 hours of battery life in most of our Chromebooks. So they do need a wireless signal. Without the internet, there are some offline functions of the Chromebook, but it is a device that is meant to cruise the web and to be an internet-enabled device. One thing people do not know a lot about, and that is accessibility features in the Chromebook. There are tools available for visually enhancing content on the computer, as well as audio enhancements that can help reach our challenged learners. Also, more and more as we explore the world of purchasing apps and extensions, the Chrome store has many available free apps for education. And these are mini applications or mini websites like Khan Academy and GeoGebra, other learning devices that are free and easy to access. So that's really all I want to share. I love looking at Chromebook resources. There's lots of them in this on this page here. If you haven't got to check out Kathy Schrock's guide to everything Chromebooks, it's fantastic. So you will have these available. They're on the Google Plus page if you like. This presentation is available also. But there are some great resources about using them, and that's what we're trying to do here with this panel discussion. We're trying to hear from the teachers themselves, the practitioners who are actually implementing these. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and look back at the panelists and talk to you folks about Chromebook use in your school. So I have a few questions. We have one other guest that's going to be joining us in a little while, Brian Vitorisi. But my first question to the three of you is, how are Chromebooks being used in your school? Sort of how are students using them? What kind of learning activities is happening around Chromebooks or with Google? And I know we can sometimes interchange. Chromebooks is just a device, and we know that devices, we don't like to spend too much time talking about devices, but what is it that they're able to do with these devices that makes sort of the learning easier or exceptional? So who would like to start?
As far as our school, we have 100 Chromebooks, and we're a pretty small school, 340 students. And so we have 4 carts, and we share them out throughout the building.
How are they shared, Paula? And do you see any difference in the use of these 100 Chromebook and carts in your building? Any change in student academic performance that you can allude to? Just sort of anecdotal things.
Sure. We started out the beginning of the year having them all centrally located, which was in the library, and I would check them out each day to teachers who signed up. First, it was a paper-based calendar, and then we went to a Google Calendar for teachers to sign out. That became a little cumbersome, getting 4 carts out every morning, so we began putting them into our grade level pod areas as people became more familiar with using them. We had a process of where teachers gave a mini lesson to their classes. And interestingly, it was our first and second grade classes that really started using them the most at the beginning of the year, and our upper grades kind of came on board a little later. And we were using Lexia. We have licenses to do Lexia reading instruction with phonics-based instruction. And the advantage for our first and second graders is they could get on all by themselves. I have the Lenovo laptops in the library, and getting on with the Control-Alt-Delete and logging in with a password and putting the cap lock button on when they shouldn't have it on is, was a lot of Mrs. Pickett, Mrs. Pickett, Mrs. Pickett. And with the Chromebooks, our first and second graders are pretty much able to get up and running on their own, even on programs like Lexia, where they have a personal password that they then have to go in and put in.
Paula, thanks. Aaron, you work with young children as well. Are your students using Chromebooks at that early age in the early grades as well, Aaron? Do you have any thoughts to share about that?
Yeah, I think I had Lenovo laptops previously as well, and I think as far as the kindergartners and first graders go, there's not much of a change in how they use the laptops. But the second graders, starting with second grade, I've issued the BPS issued Google accounts. And so I've been teaching with Google Drive and Google Classroom starting in second grade and going up to 5th grade in my school. I have 50 Chromebooks in the school, 25 are in the library, and stay in the library for the most part, except for the park test, and that's happening. And there are 25 that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades share.
So we're having students get on as early as 2nd grade using their BPS Gmail accounts and using Learning Drive to access content, to work together, etc. Thanks, Aaron. Ingrid, any thoughts about how it's working at your school, at Boston Latin Academy, in terms of Google and sort of change or transformative stuff happening in your classes, Ingrid, or at your school?
So, Ari, in terms of the Chromebooks, I have a computer lab, so I don't use the Chromebooks, but I know we have a lot of carts. I think in the beginning, maybe 2 years ago, it was a lot more problematic, but people have started to like solve some of those problems in terms of signing things out, some of the same things that Paul and Aaron were talking about, so that seems to be going more smoothly. It's interesting to hear about the little kids because we're 7 through 12, so I don't really think about them. It's interesting to know that there are 1st and 2nd graders using Chromebooks. So, but in terms of the Chromebook use, I don't use the Chromebooks.
But you're using Google pretty regularly, and as we said, Ingrid, you know, the Chromebooks are a device. How do you see Google happening, or changes around Google and Google Apps for Education in particular, in your work, in your school?
Well, a few of the things that I wanted to share in terms of, you know, Google and all of the products that come with Google. One thing is I personally use a Google site for my students, and I'm going to share that. So this is the site that I developed, and I developed it using Google Sites, and it's pretty simple. I mean, it looks complicated, but on a day-to-day basis, it's pretty simple, and inside it are a series of Google Docs that I use to help keep the kids focused and on track. So, for example, right now we're on this module where students are taking their media and publicizing it and using blogs. And this document that you're looking at is really easy for me to change. You know, it's kind of like a classroom guide that I can quickly go in and change and put links in. You know, I change it all the time, maybe even the same day, maybe even during class. I have the advantage of the students are working on the computers daily, so they come in and they know right away, like as soon as they come in, you know, whatever we're on, they go to that, they click on it, and then we kind of discuss the work from there. And I think it's a great way to keep kids focused, and it's, you know, easy for me. I can change it at home, I could change it in class, you know, if I feel like I need to switch something or add something. The other thing I wanted to share was about student collaboration. So in my computer science class recently, the students they were doing presentations where they were researching networking concepts, and we have a class of 22 students. The students were divided in groups, and then I think there are 6 groups approximately. So 6 students had access to this presentation that you're looking at, and that way everybody was able to more or less simultaneously take the 3 slides that they had created by themselves, copy them, paste them into this giant presentation, and then not only could all the students look at each other's work, but when we stood up and did the presentation in class, it was a lot smoother because you're not like opening one presentation, closing another one. So that was one of the student collaboration benefits I wanted to share. And then lastly, I have been working this year really closely with 2 other teachers, and we have created, so this one's more like a professional collaboration. So we've created a shared drive or shared folder, and here you can see all of the people who have access to the folder. And we're not together all the time, so we have to create things remotely and independently. And what's awesome about this is, say we're all working on Unit 17, everybody knows where the material is. If one person adds something, like these are 2 Java files that one of the other teachers added to the folder. If one person adds it, we can all immediately access it. And it just makes for professional collaboration. It makes life incredibly simple because you know where it is. It's easy to find. It's well organized. And I know with all the Google accounts that we have with BPS, that makes it really easy too, because you can divide your personal from your professional and just kind of keep all your stuff in one place. So that's kind of all I had to say about.
Well, Ingrid, you touched on something that when we do these broadcasts and we're talking to teachers about blended learning and integrating technology into curriculum, we talking about it not just from students doing it, but it really can't happen unless teachers are using these tools and practicing with these tools as well, and collaborating, like you said, sharing folders, working. You use the words remotely and independently, and I think that's great because teachers are very busy, and we can't always be in the same place at the same time. To have that option of working collaboratively on something while you're in another place and another time adds so much value to the work that's going to be going right down to our students. So teachers working with the tools, with the programs like Google Apps together first before using students, I think is an essential component. Paula and Aaron, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about collaboration. Ingrid brought up that great C word when we talk about Google Apps for Education: collaboration, communication, connection, creativity. Is collaboration something that is easier with your Chromebooks at your school? Are students collaborating? Are teachers doing any collaboration now that they have Google Apps and Chromebooks available to them? Your thoughts on that, Paula, Brian, Aaron, excuse me?
I think starting simple is one of the things that people are at different levels of using their Google. Our principal uses it a lot to communicate with us. So she has notes from meetings, from common planning time. So teachers are able to go in and access those. But starting even with the calendar process for the Chromebook checkout, a lot of people weren't familiar with the calendar, so we had some glitches of people canceling, and starting with steps where everyone figures out how to do one thing and then moving on to another is, I think, some of the small steps you have to take in moving forward with it. We had a whole host of things get canceled at one fell swoop at one point, and it was a learning experience for us all. But I think making it practical, not just abstract, makes it move a lot easier.
No, thanks, Paula. It's true, and taking those small steps is really puts people at ease too, when they're not overwhelmed by too many things. I just want to pause for a second and welcome our other panelist, Brian. You made it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian. Can you tell us, Brian, who you are and where you teach and what you're doing these days at your school? Welcome.
My name is Brian Vitorisi. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear, Brian.
I'm over at the Sarah Greenwood School. We're a K1 through 8 school. I teach computers/technology here at the school for all students in all grades. The technology part and computer aspect of it is some Lego robotics for the younger kids, in addition to computer work, iPad work with the students, as well as using the computers in the upper grades. So.
Well, thanks, Brian. We just asked a question, Brian. Ingrid brought up how teachers have been collaborating using Google Apps for Education, and students are doing collaborative projects. So we were just asking our other panelists, Paula and Aaron, now, just what collaborations do you see happening as a result of Google Apps? So I'm just going to switch over to Aaron for a second, Brian, and come back to you, let you mull that over a little bit, and think about the collaborations that might be happening or enhanced because of Google Apps or the availability of Chromebooks. Aaron, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I can talk about student collaboration a little bit. I have a project that I did with second graders where last fall with, they were studying European countries, and I had them create a slide presentation of pictures of the country that they were studying. The ultimate idea was an iPad video of they're reading a script with their research and the pictures projected in the background. But for making the slide presentation, I had them partners share a document or share a slide presentation, and this was the first time that they had heard of this concept. So it was really kind of wild. It was a wild experience, and I can show you an example of one that was made.
Yeah, please do. What did they find wild, Aaron? You're laughing at that yourself. What was so unusual for them?
So the way I introduced it was I had a student create a document or create a presentation and write their name onto it, and then I asked them to share it with me. I had this set up. I kind of spoke on the side with the student during class and had them share it, and then I projected, when they shared it with me, I got the document and put it on the smartboard, and then I started to change it, and the reaction from the student on the computer was just funny.
Yeah.
And I think when other students started to see that this was possible, it just was kind of mind-blowing. So the presentation, two girls made this, and they, from two different computers, they found their pictures and collaborated on it. I also have a project that I'm doing right now with 4th grade. They did some animal research, and they wrote it up and in their classroom, just in handwriting. And now in library class, I'm taking that and having them type it into a Google Doc, and we're going to put some pictures in there. It's pretty simple with the twist that I'm going to show them how to write comments in to each other's text to indicate mistakes or changes that should be made. So I think this is a way that I hope that classroom teachers in the future too, in my school, using Google Drive, can facilitate collaboration between students.
You know, there is a shift, there's a transformation that happens when you introduce some of these, a tool that can then bring students to a new way of learning, and that collaboration piece and changing pictures, changing something on a screen while somebody else is working on it is a very, very strange concept, and Google has really introduced this to us quite a bit. Your thoughts on collaboration? Anybody else want to address any collaboration? Brian, would you like to say something about, or Ingrid, about student collaboration? Just speak up, folks. We're good.
Hi, Ingrid.
Ingrid, thank you so much. And also, Ingrid, for the work you do at the BTU in the Professional Learning Conference that happens each year. I know the Google site that you shared for your classes is also one that you've created a template for that is accessible for other Boston Public Schools teachers under our Google Sites template. So thank you so much for the work you do with your students and for teachers as well. Thanks, Ingrid.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Brian. Any thoughts about collaboration and anything? We're sort of looking at how Chromebooks/Google has opened up different avenues for learning, and what you see as these benefits of them, Brian.
So a couple of the things that we've started working on this year, or I've worked on with my students, whether it's middle school or particularly grade 3, believe it or not, our grade, I'll start with middle school, grade 5 through 8. We started using Google Classroom a little bit more this year. I'm going to pull up that screen if that's right with you all.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in my Google Classroom, I set up classes for each group that I see from grades 5 through 8. and I'm able to share those documents that I want with the students, pretty much the instructions as well as what they're going to be doing this term in class. So for example, it's a lot easier that I believe it's a lot easier to create the story map and share the graphic organizer through Google Drive or through Google Classroom, excuse me, rather than Google Doc in part because I don't know if you're looking at my screen here, I'm under grade 5. So in my Google Classroom, that page is my 5th grade class, and they recently, or they're reading the book Wonder by R.J. Polanco, I believe is the author's name, in their ELA class, and they're taking a scene from that story that that they're reading, and they're making a digital story map for themselves. And what I was able to do, I shared. Can you still see my screen, or are you looking at something else?
We see your screen. We see your classroom.
So in the past, through Google Drive, I've always just shared the document with them and didn't allow them to edit it, just so they could view it, and then they would copy and paste and create their own. But what I really like about Google Classroom is that over here in the underneath 21 not done, each student gets a copy. So each student automatically, once they join that classroom, gets a copy of that document. And the nice part is they can turn it into me when they're finished, or they can share it and work in groups with other people within the classroom. So that's been a nice aspect of the Google Classroom in the collaboration part. Another thing that in 3rd grade, during my enrichment time, that's why I'm late here today to the party, it's a challenge-based learning program that we're doing with the students, and we're talking about school safety and ways to stay safe in school. And one of the neat things is that they're 3rd graders, so they're very excited about creating posters and creating letters or writing letters to people. But when I introduced Blogger to them when we were using the Chromebooks, they thought it was one of the most fascinating things that they could ever do, create a blog on one of the safety issues and embed a video into it that they filmed with a video camera or an iPad, and we've done a lot of work with downloading those videos and sharing those videos from one account to another, and then having to figure out how to get them into our blog. But and they're seeing the impact that Google has made, or our Google Docs has made at the Sarah Greenwood School. So those some of those blogs are up on our school website. They are now making QR codes for their blogs and posting their QR codes around the building, so people can just come by and scan their blogs about safety. So it's making a pretty good impact on our students here.
Brian, thanks. We're still seeing your Google Classroom. Paula, Aaron, any questions to Brian about Google Classroom? Any questions or thoughts about it?
Well, I think maybe I can walk down the street and check it out in his school since I'm right up the street from him. But it's something I think we should try out at our school. I haven't tried it myself. Do you assign all of your classes, Brian?
So far, just grades 5 through 8.
Okay.
That's all we've been able to handle so far. I started in grade 8 and worked my way down to grade 5. And as I've been working my way down, it's becoming a lot easier for me, and I'm getting more comfortable with it. And I just found it easier to teach to the older kids first, and then work out the bugs with them because they can troubleshoot a lot. I have 31 students in 8th grade, so there's bound to be someone in there that can help me figure out parts that I can't figure out.
And do you share that with your teachers? The teacher who was assigned the book on Wonder, is that teacher then able to look at that same work?
We have not done that yet.
Okay.
We're getting there. We're slowly working on that.
Yeah.
So they'll share the document with her. Last year we did something similar where they just shared the Google Doc with her. But I'm curious, Ed, and maybe you can help out. Can that other teacher have access to that Google Classroom if we share her? Like if we...
yeah, I don't know, so I was wondering.
That's a question for Ed.
The Google Classroom has improved lately. There have been significant improvements in Google Classroom. One of the things we like about Google Classroom is that they're actually taking the feedback from educators and making changes. They know it is maybe that it was actually released prematurely before it was fully developed to scale. To us, they're looking at Google Classroom as trying to be like Edmodo and a learning management system. It's sort of, and it's almost there. And one of the things they did improve on, Brian, to address your question, is that they've just allowed co-teachers to be enrolled. Okay. So instead of having a co-teacher just enroll as a student by giving them the code, you can now enroll a co-teacher so that second or third teacher can see the classroom as well.
Oh, that's great.
It is great.
I have a question, and this might be off topic. I know we can share a Google Doc with the students through SIS. Mm-hmm. Is there a way that the documents in Google Classroom, when the students turn in that document, is there a way to link that document with SIS?
That's a good question, Brian. I have to take that to my SIS folks here at OIIT to figure that out. I'm not sure if we can have them distributed in the same way. It might be new. It might be something new. I'm going to see if I can get an answer even before the end of our broadcast. I think you're not the first person that has brought that up, Brian. We want to have our systems synced, in sync with each other. And since Google Classroom is part of our Google Apps for Education domain, and Aspen does sync with it, most likely we will be able to get that happening. So that would be nice if it could get it right into the grade book in SIS. Aaron, just about Google Classroom and Google Apps. You know, we're not talking too much specifically about Chromebooks. It's hard to talk just about the device because we really want to focus on what that device does for learning, for collaboration, for helping students develop their digital literacies. And Brian brought up something about his students using blogs and making videos and uploading media, and the sense of excitement that comes about creating things for an audience, for other people to see. So, Aaron, what do you see as some of those things that you want to touch on as a teacher and you have a hub in your library, Aaron, of teachers coming to you, students coming to you. What do you see as sort of the next reiteration of learning at your school with Chromebooks and with Google?
Well, I can tell you one of the things that sort of the big thing that I'm excited about, but I can also say that I'm still trying to kind of promote the basic slides, docs, and spreadsheets to classroom teachers.
Yep.
Part of it, there's partial resistance from some teachers to change, but there's also a limitation on devices. So, but one of the things that I'm very excited about is I discovered the More Apps feature on Google Drive recently.
That list that goes on below the window?
Yeah. So for example, I discovered Powtoon. Do you know about Powtoon?
I do not know about Powtoon.
So let me share my screen.
Please do.
I'll show you Powtoon and I'll also tell you some advantages of using it through Google Drive.
Okay, great. I appreciate that this is a learning experience for us all, and that's what I love about these conversations with teachers, Aaron, Brian, Paula, that we all sort of learn from each other and that there are new things all the time, and I appreciate your practical perspective on using them as a teacher and discovering these new things.
So Ed, if there are some apps that we're unable to access and it says please see your administrator, for access, do we talk to you? Do we send out email?
Yeah, you can start with me, Brian. I don't know if you know Sean McMahon, but Sean is our sort of our Google administrator, and I can be a connection to him. But feel free to talk to me because I'd love to find out what the issues are, and maybe it's something we can change so that you don't have that interference when you want to use something.
Great, thanks. Sorry, Aaron.
That's okay.
He was covering for you, Aaron, while you were interrupted. Nice move, Brian.
Thanks. So, can you see my Google Drive?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you push New, and you go down to More, and normally you just have Google Forms and drawings there, but if you push Connect More Apps, it's like a whole new world opens up.
Oh my.
Oh my God.
Powtoon is one I haven't explored. Part of
You're in
what's
the
so
you're in the Chrome store, aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Part
where
of
you
what's so
are.
exciting to me is that I've only explored like one of these things, Powtoon,
Uh-huh.
and I'm using Powtoon with fifth graders now. But there's so many possibilities that I see here. If you connect, then it leads you through an initial sign-in process, and then afterwards, every time you go back, it actually saves a Powtoon presentation in your Google Drive. You can
Oh,
see.
cool.
I'm not it has like the actual symbol for Powtoon on your drive list, and every time afterwards, when you want to go in and work on your presentation, you push More, and it opens. It lists Powtoon as an
Oh,
option
nice,
there.
nice,
So
nice. And so, what is Powtoon, Aaron? Tell us, what is it? What do students do with it?
so with Powtoon, you can create. I think the edit screen is going to come up in a second, but you can create slides, kind of like a slide presentation, except they're presented in a video. And so I can go to, I'm looking for my
So
exhibit.
it's like a digital storytelling.
Right, right. Let's see. So you can create each slide, and it has graphics that can move and things on there. But one thing I like about this is that you're automatically logged into it through Google Drive, and so students will make this mistake as we initially started using it. They'll just Google Powtoon and say, "Mr. Null, I can't find it anywhere," because you have to go through Google Drive. But the coolest thing about this is I've used Glogster in the past, and I had to keep track of, like, 25, 30 Glogster accounts.
That's right. That's right.
Passwords.
Oh, it's passwords.
Oh yeah.
But if they're entering Powtoon through Google Drive, they don't have to put in any passwords. So
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Aaron, I can honestly
And so
say, sitting here, I just
Go ahead.
created an account. So thank you.
Yep.
Nice work, Brian. Nice work.
So this
Click
is
on the draw there.
This is what it looks like. You can have each screen, and you can set the graphics so that there's timing on them moving in and out. You can make word bubbles. So basically what Ed said, digital storytelling.
That looks like a great thing for the fifth graders to do with the EL curriculum, because the EL curriculum, our fifth graders, I didn't know about that, just finished a unit which they learn about graphic novels. So
Right. And in fact, that's what I'm using it with. My fifth graders just finished a hard copy graphic novel.
Yeah, that's part of the literacy curriculum right now.
Mm-hmm. And I asked them to convert a scene from the graphic novel into a video here.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. And you can make up to a 5-minute video with for free. There are some features on there that you have to pay for, but it's pretty good.
And is it embeddable or anything like that, Aaron? Can you put this on a blog or a website? How does it export?
It's got
How
the
does it get
options up
saved?
here, but I haven't
Oh, yeah.
experimented too much with those yet.
Oh, yeah, I see. I see. Brian will probably tell us before the end of the broadcast how we can do that, right, Brian?
I'm done playing
He's
with
working
it.
on it. I can tell.
Done playing.
No, this is exciting, and this is just one example, Aaron, of the store where you had more apps connected to more apps. And Paula, Brian, Aaron, I don't think that teachers know about all the opportunities of using apps with Chromebooks as well. The Chromebook store alone has a lot of free apps. People are familiar with Khan Academy as a great place to go to for supporting students' math literacies. There's so much more to Khan Academy, but it's also available as an app so that it's easy. As soon as a student logs in under their account, they can have Khan Academy or GeoGebra right there on their desktop when they log in. So that's fantastic. We really want to help teachers explore more of those types of apps and extensions in Chrome. Thanks for sharing that one. We're adding that. Liz is chatting me in the background, Liz Holman, the other digital learning specialist, and she's chatting me. She's adding it to our digital storytelling list of resources. So thank you, Aaron.
Yep.
You know, we talked about the things that students are doing. Brian, you mentioned blogging and using media, and Aaron, you're helping students get online using their Google accounts and using Google Drive. And Paula, you talked about small steps with staff and with students, just getting them comfortable working online. What do you see in the long run? What would be the best scenario for all of you in terms of helping your entire school get more Google-oriented, or really adopting these things or spreading the word? How do we help proliferate? How do we help spread this knowledge out and teaching? Because obviously it's hands-on. It's not traditional, and Paula, you alluded to it. Change is not easy for some teachers. So how do we help this agenda? We know what our students do outside of school. So how do we make school sort of match that experience of using media, using collaboration, producing and creating? With Google in the classroom, how do we do that to make it a reality in our school? I know that's a handful, so let it sit for a second.
Well, Ed, one of the things I see happening in my school with the Chromebooks now, with teachers checking them, is they're starting to see the benefits of having small groups working on the Chromebooks to free them up to do a guided reading group or do something with another group, and then join back up with that small group that's working, whether it's an intervention. Our first and second graders have found a lot of sight word work that they can do with the students, but I think the next step is to really chronicle in our school what's working and sharing those apps and those programs so that people aren't just searching for what to do. They have a kind of toolkit at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And
cool.
then making one of the things, my next step I see is how do we then connect it to the home? How do we have people work on things at home, kids work at home? I've experienced it a few times through Glogster of kids then working on Glogs at home, but not so much this year so far. But making that homeschool connection, which involves the parents and the technology, whether it's through Tech Goes Home and Chromebooks, or just using devices they have, because there are a lot of devices in the homes now.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Paula. Really good point. Really good point. Aaron, Brian, want to add on to that or anything? Your thoughts about how we help spread things out to the school?
I've noticed that our teachers, particularly our middle school teachers, are getting more comfortable with the Google Docs and using that a little bit more. Seeing the students doing projects from one classroom to another, if they're in ELA, and then coming into my class and saying, oh, I know we have a project in here, but I have a project due for my teacher. Do you mind if I do it during your time? Which is fine. You know, they're doing their work. You know, and I'm saying, oh, at first I was originally saying, do you need to go to your class, to that teacher's class? And they're like, oh, no, it's all in Google Drive. So I'm excited that it's spreading. When I introduced, Google Classroom, one of the middle school teachers came in and said, what is that? And sat down and watched. So it was kind of neat that, hopefully that will spin off or rub off on that person. But to get more staff on board, I know your department has been pretty much cut to the bones. It's you and Liz, and pretty much it at this point. But I valued every professional development I have ever attended through OIIT. I just wondering if there's a way that more professional development, it doesn't necessarily have to be face-to-face, it could be online,
Right.
to expose more.
Yeah, that's great, Brian. And funny that one of our colleagues, Natasha Scott, is a assistant director for social studies in BPS, and she's holding a professional development right now. And she's sitting in a room by herself, and she's using Google Classroom as a way to host a professional development. So she has teachers logging into a Google Classroom. So that's something to sort of think about, Brian, Paula, Aaron. If you're looking to share things or hold a session, a learning session with your teachers, and everyone can't make it, or you just want to have a resource area, try Google Classroom as a way to deliver an easy setup for professional development. You might find it's a great, easy way to be able to share ideas and resources and get those teachers on board, the ones who are sort of reaching or grasping for that next level of technology integration. It might be something they really value, and but she's doing that right now, and I'm happy that that you mentioned Google Classroom, Brian. Aaron, you looked like you wanted to say something in that last one. What are your thoughts on building capacity at your school?
I think I'm hoping to get in on the PD that happens just before the school year starts in August, and I'm hoping for
get ahead of the game a little bit,
Aaron. I'm hoping for some time. Our school has a STEAM mission now, and the principal is behind some of my efforts to integrate technology, and so I'm hoping to have sort of a close reading of the curriculum from social studies to some places where you could adapt a project that's maybe paper and pencil and marker and adapt it into a project in Google Drive or something like that. And I'm hoping to have, I save examples of projects that I've done with students, and I'm hoping to be able to just show teachers kind of some of these things that are possible, and I hope to sort of inspire some teachers to work with me and kind of keep the ball rolling.
Well, that's a great sentiment. Go ahead, Paula.
We just had an ILT meeting last week, and we were talking about PD for next year. And one of the things that I inserted in the conversation, and we had some time to talk about it, was making sure that each of our PDs next year, whether it's in ELA, whether it's math, whether it's social skills, that we have a technology component built into the PD. So it's not, we're not going to have a separate technology session that people come to, but that every time you do a PD, that it includes a piece of technology. So I'm hoping Principal Lamore at our school is very much in support of moving the technology forward. I think we're getting more Chromebooks next year. And so how do we build it in each time? So hopefully that will be going forward.
Well, Paula, you're absolutely right that we are, and as Brian mentioned, our department's cut to the bone, so we really rely on people who know their stuff out there to be sharing, right? So we're an OIT and the digital learning team, we're trying to create pockets of communities and posting resources to people for you guys to share with each other, and have technology not be a separate item for curriculum, but sort of interwoven. Aaron, your idea about taking a pen and paper lesson and really trying to break it down and see how we could bring it to online, how we can blend it. What are the key components of learning in face-to-face that can be transferable online and improved upon and duplicated and shared across many communities? So we're very excited about that idea, Aaron. I hope that you get to do that at your school. I hope you can get ahead of the game and get some PD before school starts and we're all running around crazy. But stay tuned over the summer. Liz and I are putting together some courses, some online blended courses on instructional design for the blended classroom, creating landing zones, things like that Ingrid mentioned, her Google Sites project with the BTU conference. There's so many great teachers out there doing things to support blended learning, to support digital literacies, that we just have to find out ways to connect. So I'm going to be ending our broadcast in a moment, folks. We've just about hit the top of our hour, and I just want to thank you for being part of our Hangout, our broadcast today for the Boston Public Schools Digital Learning Team's broadcast on air. And just any closing statements on Google or Chromebooks or this experience here, folks, before we leave?
It's been wonderful. Thank you both or all three of you, I should say, and Ingrid for when she was here for sharing your thoughts and some of the stuff you're doing with your students. Thanks a lot, Ed. I really appreciate it.
Brian, thank you for joining us and coming in like you were here the whole time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, this is my first Hangout, so I really enjoyed it, and I think that we'd like to try it at our school a little bit. My principal has asked me to come back and tell her how it worked, so we'll share that. I'd love to, Ed, at some point, if we ever have a chance to do it, to talk about how people have been either doing Park on the Chromebooks or getting ready for Park. We're doing paper and pencil right now, but it's interesting. We used to have to fight to get kids accommodations to be able to type their work, and now we need to move everyone there. So.
Yes, and there's lots of schools have had great experiences using Chromebooks with Park, and Aaron is one of them, and I'm sure we'll have another broadcast, and there's lots of resources out there, Paula. I'd be happy to share some with you on Chromebooks and Park.
But I think that'll move teachers forward too.
It will, it has to, right? It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula, very much. We've been connecting over for a long time, Paula, and I'm glad that we were able to connect before the end of this year, and hopefully we can recharge and continue our connections around technology.
I appreciate it, Ed.
Okay. Aaron, any closing thoughts?
This was my first Google Hangout as well, and so I learned something new in using this today, and so I really enjoy the kind of professional discussion and learning new things that I can use in the classroom.
It's fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to wrap it up. Aaron, thank you. Brian Vitorisi, Paula Pickett, Aaron Knowles, thank you for representing Boston Public Schools and contributing to our culture of learning in BPS and OIT's Digital Learning Team's broadcasts on air. Thank you, folks. I will be in touch later on, sending you a follow-up letter and sharing some resources. Thank you very much. I have to run out. I'm going to stop the broadcast, and take care, okay?
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, folks. Bye-bye. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Paula. Bye, Aaron.
Bye.
Bye.